Hello, I'm Matt, welcome back to Workshop. Coming out of the rain and I'll show you around. So, this is where the magic happens. As you can see, I've got my tape rack on the back of the door that I made the other week. And here's the drill rack I did. I'm really pleased with this. It makes it so easier just to put things away where they should go. And my stereo has actually ended up at the top so I can listen to podcasts as I work. So moving along the wall, we've got the chisel rack I made. This works really well, keeping them organised, and I moved them to the end when they need sharpening so I can sharpen them all in one go. As you can see, I do have a window in here, but natural light and filming don't really go together, so I've got a bit of breathable membrane over it that diffuses the light. And on the windowsill is some random junk that needs putting away. Under the window I've got this bench. It's on casters so it can be pulled out. I've got this old set of drawers that has some dust extraction bits, and then I've got loads of these Stanley cases which I'll go through in a bit, but that's what I use to store most of my hardware. On the back wall of the shop I've got this rack I made for these plastic trays. So I've got painting supplies, brushes in there, random electrical bits, tubes of silicone and things. It all keeps it reasonably organised, and I'm so pleased with how this rack worked out. I actually made a second one. There's more of these plastic trays, but also a lot of my wood storage that people have given me. In front of it, I have my Triton planer thicknesser. I've mounted this on an old bedside table so I can pull it out when I need it. Super cheap, this thing, and works really well for the money. The far corner, unfortunately, is a bit of a dumping ground. I've got the track for my track saw, and then instead of a clamp rack, I have a clamp corner. So that is something I definitely need to sort out. And I've got this old bucket full of gardening supplies. This unit is an old fridge out the kitchen, and yeah, it's good for painting on because it's stainless steel, and if I drip any paint on it, it can just scrape off. But also it turns into a dumping ground. So along from the fridge is my miter saw station. This is the dust box I made the other week, and it's working quite well. And I've got this Camvac twin motor dust extraction that works well on it. This is a wall mounted model, but I've just got it sat here at the moment as I need to find a bit of wall space to actually mount it on. I've got a drill press that's just sat on the top because I don't use it that often and just get it down when I do need it. As you can see, miter station, I've got my fence, and I use these railway sleepers, not sleepers, line, as stop blocks all the time. Underneath, scrap wood bin, I can just throw off cuts off the miter saw straight in, and a waste bin under there. So this is kind of my saw corner with the miter saw and the table saw here. This is my Bosch Gts 10J table saw that I made this stand for and added this aftermarket Axminster Tools and Machinery fence. And I'm super impressed with this saw, this fence, and actually I'm quite impressed with the bench I made because this setup works really well for me. Underneath there's quite a bit of storage for scrap bits of wood, and I have my dust extractor for this on a remote, so I can just turn it on and off. While I've got you over this end, I just thought I'd show you up. So you've got the sign I built, and you can see how tall the ceiling is in here, which is a nightmare for keeping the place warm, but it's nice in the summer because it actually stays quite cool in here. So above the miter station, I've got my timber rack, which is just a shelf held up by this beam which has all my clamps on, all my Irwin quick release clamps and my spring clamps. These are things I use all the time, so they're really handy near the bench and the saws. It's a bit of a dumping ground, this, for pallet wood that I've broken up and things. It's all on top of each other, but I'm not sure if I've got room for a better system here. So I've got my bandsaw here on a mobile base. This is a record power BS 250. First bandsaw I've ever had, and really pleased with it. I would like a bigger one with more capacity, but this works really well. Here I've got my Axminster industrial extractor. I pull this out when I want to use the planer thicknesser. Yeah, it's not a bad unit. but I prefer my new camback one, to be honest. Here's probably an angle you recognise a bit more. My workbench I made the other week with the vise, and this here is the table saw, so this actually works as the outfeed table. It's not the best system to have your workbench as the outfeed table, but we all have limited space, unless you're Jimmy DeResta with his massive new shop, and this is what has to work for me. Behind the tool wall, which I'm sure you recognise, and the red toolboxes. I'm not sure how I feel about drawers, as they do get full of dust and rubbish, but for sockets and spanners they work really well. You've got more pliers and screwdrivery type things in this one. They keep it reasonably neat. I've got more of the Stanley boxes down here, and I'll show you some of them in a bit. And now I'll show you my small shop vac under here. So under the bench with the toolboxes, I have a Henry Hoover, which someone said was broken, but it was just the hose that was broken, so I managed to get that for free. And this I use for sanding, or to extract from my sanders. Attached to it is an Axminster dust separator. It's not a bad little unit, this. It's just a drum, but it has a window so you can see when the bag's full. And I know it's hard to see from this angle and all the hoses, but it has a pipe that goes from the top to the cavity between the wall and the bag, so it keeps the pressure the same. So as most of these, you can't actually have a bag in them, they just pull up through the hose, but you can with this, so it makes it makes emptying it easier. Anyway, it works quite well for me, and with just sanding it takes a long time to fill this drum up. So this is a small bench just on casters if I need to be able to get to the metal vise. And here is a lot of my sheet storage, which are leftover bits from the shepherd's hut really. And as you can see, I've got a garage door to go in and out, but normally I can't use any of this bit because it's full of firewood for the winter, and we really need to stock back up on that. Right, that's basically the tour of my shop. So now I'm just going to geek out and show you what I keep in my storage boxes. So feel free to run away now. I have one that's just full of fastenings. Really just raw plugs, keeping them organised. This is a nice light one. Wood screws, it needs stocking up again. Drill bits, and actually on my drill rack I have another thing full of drill bits that are too long, or hole saws that are too big to get in here. Random nuts and bolts go in this one. Done if you're still with me. Nails and staples. Random electrical bits, so a lot of cable ties, terminal connectors. There's some Cat 5 bits and bobs, wires, TV aerial, fuse wire. Yeah. Right, we're definitely getting a bit more random in this one. Hooks, shackles, hanging plates. Oh, nails for the nail gun. For some reason they're not with the nails. Probably should sort that one out. Screwdriver bits I don't use. More hanging plates, some rivets, some washers, hinges. Yeah, as I say, random rubbish. This is more screws, but this is more brass screws and round head screws, things I don't use anywhere near as often. And this one I think is going to be the most random of them all. Copper fittings, some hose connections, some air gun pellets, always useful in a workshop, lighters, some glues, key rings, and that is all my small parts organisation. Well, if you managed to watch all of that, well done, and thank you very much for staying around. I hope you enjoyed it, and I might do another video if anyone's interested, going through all the power tools I have in more detail. Anyway, thanks for watching, and please subscribe for more videos.